friends, Claudia here today, and as promised I'm going to show you how to use your wax gun in very original, unique ways. Let's give your wax gun some workout. Here it is. This is mine, and as you can see, the wax gun, the stick is already in, it's loaded, it's heating up, and as you can see there's some steam coming out. It's already dripping with wax, so we can go right on and set to work. Now, this is a wax gun which is not my own, of course, but we'll talk about that later. First up, we're starting with embossing folders. Take your wax gun and spread out a little bit of wax, not too much, just equally. Just don't go too far to the sides, and then just close it, press gently on it. You will see that it is slightly warming up beneath your hands. Maybe something is even coming out on the sides, but never worry. Wait about 10 seconds till it's no longer really hot. It never gets hot, don't worry. It is just warm. And let's open it. Gently press on it again and continue to open it steadily. And that's what you have. Good news, embossing folder is not damaged. Then peel it off. Gently peel it off from this. I'm using We Are Memory Keepers hexagon embossing folder, as you can see, and I'm peeling this off, and apart from this little hexagon here, it's fine. And look at the texture. This is the one on the smooth side, and this is the textured side. Doesn't that look great? I just love it. You could now cut it into pieces, or you can die cut it, whatever suits you best, or just use it on your layout. Number 2, second example, another We Are Memory Keepers embossing folder, a different color, and again, slide it off, peel it off gently, and look at that texture. Isn't that great? It's smooth, and on this side it's a little rough. You got the texture. Oh, I can't wait to show you what I'm going to do with this. And embossing folder doesn't take any damage, so that's great. Number 2, let's try die cutting on wax. For this, I'm using Altenew, some dainty little leaves, and as you will see, the results won't be at first as expected. Now, on your glass mat, and I would recommend using a glass mat or something where it doesn't stick. Take your wax gun, and just put out some of the wax. You see it's getting marbled, and slide over your scraper gently. Okay, another time, and you see it's getting a little marbled. I'm doing that more often, and it dries quicker. So now I'm peeling it off, and it comes off fairly easily. Not a problem with that. Peeling it off. Okay, and look at that. Nice texture. I love the marbled side, and this is the one with a scraper. Now, I'm cutting it into form because it has to fit my little sidekick. And I'm loading it up, taking this die, putting it on the marbled side, and I will run it now through the die cutting machine a few times. It does go a little heavier, I would say, because it is a thicker piece. Now let's look at the results. Okay, it's not as it is expected. I mean, it's kind of, the texture is nice because you have this die cut image there, but it didn't really come off as I originally wanted. So now, second attempt, another way to do it is just spread the wax right on to the die cut. Do a thin layer and wait a few seconds, like 5 to 10, till it dries, and then run it through the die cutting machine again. See, I'm just speeding it up, and let's see what this is. Okay, I'm now trying to poke it through. Okay, so it does come off easily. That's a good sign. But I'm still having trouble to kind of get it out properly. So next attempt, I spread a thinner layer out on my glass mat, It's almost as thin as paper, as you can see, and I'm kind of trying to remove it, peeling it off gently, but it doesn't tear or anything. It's really good to work with. Look at that. It almost looks like paper, very thin, very smooth, and a very nice texture. Now I'm taking a different die cut. I'm using one which is not as intricate as the last one. So I'm using a leaf. It's a Monstera leaf, one of my favorite leaves for summer layouts. And look at that. It does come off easily. The die is unharmed. That's a good sign. Didn't ruin it. And now I'm peeling it off by just wiggling it a little bit back and forth. And as you can see, it does come off fairly easily. There's not much you have to do. And look at that. Look at that texture. On both sides it's really nice, and it's thin, and you have the sheen, you have the texture, and the feeling is good. You know, look at that in comparison to our first attempt and the second attempt. There is really a big difference. And I found out that the key is the thickness. So you have to take a thin layer. Number 3 is we're going to wax blend through a stencil, or wax stencil if you so wish. Now I'm taking one by Pink Fresh. It's called the Diamond Stencil. I'm taking my wax gun, spreading out a thin layer over it randomly towards the middle and spreading it out with my spreader. Let it dry 10 seconds, and then I start peeling it off. And I have to say, this doesn't go as easily as expected. Okay, so let's have a look. So the back side of the paper is fine. Now what about the front? Okay, so here we see a little bit of ripping off the paper, not as I wanted to, but I'll use it anyways. So next attempt, and this one is gonna go better. I'm taking the leafy stencil again by Pink Fresh now, and I'm spreading through it again. I'm taking my wax gun, and I make sure that the layer is going to be a little thinner as before. And I'm working now with quick strokes, as you can see. I spread it over 3 times, and it's almost dry then. And this time, I only wait for about 5 or 6 seconds. Now, let's have a look. This is shiny. It's nice. It looks good. It's dry. Yeah, dry to the touch, that's great. And now I'm peeling it off. I'm almost ripping it off with very strong movements. And there you go. That's the key to wax stenciling. You have to take a thin layer of wax, and you have to then rip it off vigorously. And it's all nice, it's all together, no problem, and the residues come off easily from the stencil. That's how it looks. And I like the look. You can now go ahead, die cut it, or use it as such on a layout, or fussy cut, or whatnot. We'll come to that later. Number 4. So next one, starting out here with some wax again, spreading it on my glass mat. It's called wax stamping. Yes, we're trying some stamp on the wax, and I'm putting out here on it, on the wax, an older stamp. It's a cling stamp. And I'm pulling it off after about 10 seconds, and no, I'm not happy with the result. It's kind of, yeah, it comes off really, I bet it comes off. So I will do a second attempt, and that one will go with Heidi's Heidi Swap stamp set artwork. And I'm taking a square stamp, again, spreading out some wax on my glass mat. And then I'm waiting. This time I'm waiting a little longer, that it's a little hardened, and then I'm putting down my stamp block. Just gently putting it down. And I won't exert any pressure. I'm just waiting for another 10 seconds, maybe even less. Lift it up. Okay, that's a good sign. No residues on the stamp, which is great. And then I'm taking my scraper and gently go underneath, gently, and lift it up. And I can see already there is texture here, which is beautiful. This is the smooth side, and this is the texture of the stamp. So I'm very happy with the result, and I'm taking in my little scissors and I'm cutting around it to make a little square. I'm cutting around and I have a nice square which I can use on my projects. Yes, I'm very happy with it. The texture, the form, and everything. Okay, now let's go over to the last technique we can do with wax, with liquid wax. And this is the wax posy I'm doing here, a little posy sealed with wax. And I like it. It's a natural flower bouquet, as you can see. But I went through my garden, I got inspired. I plucked some fresh sprigs of lavender, which is now out. And I'm taking a generous amount of wax on here. Nice and green, fits the bouquet. And then I'm pressing down with a little bit of force, more force. And I hold on to it for about 10 seconds, and that's the result. Yes, it's not very good. I'm not too happy with it because maybe I didn't apply too much wax. I should have gone even, should have gone heavier with the wax. So this is the second attempt, and I think that's okay. So next time you just have to put on more wax, possibly also because the flowers are fresh, but I'll wait till they will dry. Like lavender dries pretty quickly and it will look good, and then you can see what I will do with it on future projects. Now I saved some of these wax drippings from the gun, and I call them wax drops, not Nuva drops, not enamel dots, but wax drops, and you can use them also on your projects, cards, layouts, whatnot. And then this is something interesting. I spread a very thin layer of wax on my glass mat, really thin, and it came off beautifully. And I call it wax paper. You can roll it. So I'm taking just as an example a brush, roll it, put it on your project. The texture is nice and shiny, very light. You can use it as such, a little bit with a wave. And this is another example of how you could use something that has failed. These are punched wax shapes. You remember we tried the die cut in the beginning, and the texture is really nice, so I wanted to capture that. Or you can punch out a photo corner with your photo corner punch. Also makes for a nice accent on your photos. Put that aside, and now I'm giving you an example of the punch. You just slide it in and punch it out like you do with paper, and it's almost paper thin, I would say. It's nice and shiny. I just love this texture. It's so smooth and shiny. And another thing you could do with the leftovers, cutouts, is freeform cutting. I don't know what to do it yet, what to do with it yet, but I will have an idea later. And again, I'm taking this stenciled piece we did earlier from our wax stenciling, and I just punch it out in addition. And that would look like this. So no matter what you do, there's always lots and lots of idea with wax. I personally like all of the ideas, and here I'm pulling in the leaves, the die cut leaves, the second attempt we did. I find they turned out well. And last but not least, my absolute favorite, the embossed wax pieces. And they can be, again, die cut or cut into any form or used just like they are on layouts and cards. And I'm excited to show you what I will do with them next. And for now, I thank you for being here today, and watch out for future ways with wax. Thank you again, and don't forget to subscribe.